So the first item I had on the list was just an update in terms of meter installations, the copper program and whatnot. And Tom's not here, so I don't know if anybody else knows how much progress has been made in the last month.
He did post an update. They were doing, I think Corey said they're doing about average 4 days.
Yeah,
So-
I saw that update a couple of weeks ago.
Yeah, they have around 4 meters per day scheduled for next week. This was as of, so that's this week.
Right, this week should have been the installs.
So it sounds like that would put them up in the 50 to 60 range installed.
Wouldn't,
Are they impressive?
no, because, let's see, installed by plumbers. So they've got 30, and I should have sent out an email asking for clarification on this, but, so I understand are needed
On the 6th,
on,
Yeah, I thought it was like 6 of them.
I think you're reading it backward, Paul.
okay, so explain
I
it.
think, as I understand it, we've got something like 30, 35 that we have successfully installed, and we've got 6 or 7 that are anomalies where the homeowner has been informed that they're gonna have to do something to make it possible for the install.
I think that's what we were talking about.
So that's contrary to what the guys told me when they were in my house. When I talked to Russ, he told me they had made 6 visits prior to coming to my house, and they were only able to install 2 meters.
Well, it said on the 19th that they've already done 10 meters.
Right, 10 meters. So we need clarification. And there's other things that I'm concerned about too, is from a project management standpoint, okay? From my background, I'm not sure who's managing this project.
Corey.
So Corey's ordering parts,
Corey is managing it. So, I mean, I've had a fair amount of conversation with
Yep.
Tom about this. So
Okay.
my understanding is that Corey is taking all the communications. Corey is the one who's scheduling the visits. He's sending the folks out, and I think he's the one who's stocking the material. And he's buying enough to make sure that there are always several on the shelf, and they have no problem, according to Tom.
well, yeah,
With
getting meters
getting
is no
them.
issue.
That's easy.
Yeah, Tyson
And-
hasn't stopped.
We did have a long conversation at the department head meeting. I'm trying to remember if it was this week. I think it might have been a week ago, where we were talking about my concern. My big concern was, are we leaving consistent messaging when we can't do an install, right? So that
And
if
that's
somebody
not
doesn't
right.
get one, do they understand why not and what action is going to be necessary on their part, on the one hand? And secondly, are we keeping good records that will be accessible to Carrie in this office and to the treasurer clerk's office downstairs, so that if somebody asks a question, any of us can go to the spreadsheet and say, here's what's going on with yours.
Right.
So they've been working on that this week. Carrie and Corey were working together on that to try and come up with a way to give consistent messaging to the client, to the customer,
Yeah.
and then make sure that the information about whatever took place gets back and gets into the spreadsheet, which at the moment, I know that Corey is the one who's actually maintaining.
Okay.
And that would
So-
be also a follow-up sheet that you're talking about. That's the ones to follow up on?
Yes, effectively.
Because, I mean, based on my meter installation experience, I have concerns that, I mean, Ross is definitely the right person to have go into the houses. He has a great demeanor, very easy to talk to. But like when he came into my house, they're short on information for somebody that gets the we can't install a meter here. So they definitely need that, and not
Can you say
everybody.
that a different way? I didn't fully follow.
So if I had known what I
Was doing.
no, I'm picturing a family member, 80-year-old lady that lives in the city here.
answering ant, you're on.
Turn the camera around so we know what the reference.
she's, you know, she's gonna get frazzled. She's not gonna know what to tell a plumber when she calls them. It almost needs to be, I think, I've had a couple thoughts, right? One thought is we leave the meter horn, not the meter, just the meter horn,
Say, make room for this.
and say, you need to have a plumber install this here. It's pretty cut and dry. The plumber comes in, installs the meter horn. They're not installing a meter, no permit required.
But it will flow through without a meter.
Right.
So it's not a temporary disruption to their service.
Well, they can put a spacer in the meter horn.
Okay. And you can pull it out and throw the meter.
Right, right. Or we leave a typical drawing
Yeah.
saying,
That's an expensive piece of copper to just leave in houses and not know if we're getting it back. Or if they're gonna do anything about it.
it is, what did Tom say, it's $90?
No.
Yeah, it's
Some
90
houses might sell
bucks. Yeah.
Yeah,
What's that?
some houses might sell it, not the
Scrap it.
80-year-old
No.
lady, but
Right,
maybe
like
her
I said,
grandson.
these are ideas bouncing
We
around.
meant
in my
it only
head.
is worth $9.
I think the typical would be, is there, I imagine a spec sheet for this thing, dimensions and,
Yeah, so I think they're using J.A. McDonald meter horns, I think is what was installed. J.A. McDonald will, and I reached out to Dave Harris. I haven't heard, he was supposed to get us typicals. That has not happened yet.
that's your buddy from,
Yeah. No. So Dave Harris is Thai Sales.
oh, okay.
So from the Champlain Water District, we got some stuff, but
Okay.
it's nothing we can use for what we're doing. But if we could get those spec sheets, the plumber's got to put something in, right? I mean, you can't say, okay, I mean, you could tell them to put 2 unions in, and then we got to make everything else fit. But they're also going to run into scenarios like in my house. It made more sense to push the main shutoff valve back to put the meter in, right? Well, the guys couldn't find the curb stop to shut the house off. So you're gonna get into scenarios where the ball's gonna come back in our court if we can't find curb stops to shut meters off or to shut services off for the plumbers to do the work. Because there's gonna be houses that it's a direct line into the house with no main shut off. So that's a lot.
Not even a curb stop, or just not a,
Well, hopefully there's curbs. I mean, the tie pages show a curb stop in front of my house. It's not there. So there's all these little things. That's why, I mean, Corey's doing a great job, but it really needs to be Tom coordinating curb stop locations if they gotta bring out the vac truck, if they gotta dig for a curb stop. You know, that's my thought.
are those the ones that we should be focusing on or tallying and archiving for later? Like that's
So
where I
we can
get,
right, we could tally those and hit those in the spring, because
Yeah.
when stuff starts freezing, we're done.
yeah.
On those,
On outside
on those,
installs,
on any
yeah.
outside stuff, right?
A thought, by the way. I don't qualify as 80 years old, but I would say that I could play dumb in this situation and say, don't leave me a horn. Leave me a piece of paper that I'm going to be able to give to the plumber, because I'm not going to remember. The plumber's going to say, well, is there something or other horn? And I'm going,
Right.
yeah. So I think if we do it, we leave a piece of paper, we say, there's a problem here, we'll come back and address it in the spring.
It's not unreasonable to just like send this spec sheet to all the local plumbing outfits too and say, if you get service calls, this is what needs to be installed.
They
You
have
know,
to
like-
come and get a
We
meter
could
from us,
identify
so
the
they're
things.
gonna know anyway.
Well, they're not installing the meter.
Right.
Well,
Yeah.
Unless-
but what I hear you saying between the three of you is actually they've got to do something. And one thing that the first thing that we could say on the spec sheet is when you come to install, contact the city and we will provide the meter. Just install the whole thing.
They can't without a permit.
Well, if we're there, they can.
Oh.
They could put the horn in, and then we could literally
In that moment.
reach down and put the meter in.
I see.
Right?
Okay.
And with what you were talking about too, there's a certain amount of space that's needed to be for the meter to be in there. So when that plumber comes in there, it has to be a certain amount of room,
That's the spec sheet.
Yeah.
Well, and
which gives that.
you know, and fortunately, I was able to educate the guys a little bit when they stopped at the house. There are different meter horns that they can use. So there's the ones that lay flat, there's the ones that stand up. I mean, and then it depends on what meter they're gonna install, because some meters have to be flat, some meters can be vertical, some meters can, so,
But I appreciate too what Patrick is saying, because if we're leaving the hands in the hands of the customer to call and get a plumber lined up and get the plumber, we don't know how long we've just given up that meter horn for. It could be
Yeah.
gone for many, many months.
it could be, yep.
Yeah.
So,
Well, like I said, there's our ideas.
And it sounds like it
bouncing
might not
around
be
in my
the
head.
actual proper horn.
Right.
So.
right,
And because to what you were saying, I mean, let's face it, somebody's gonna call a buddy that's a plumber or can solder a joint.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I think people might know how to do it.
Right,
Yeah.
so we have to give them something very solid to
Yeah.
exact dimensions, exact fittings. This is what we need.
Paul, is that supplied with the meter itself?
No, that's on the water department. And
But wouldn't they, from the factory, say you need this much space, this much angle for that meter to be installed?
nope,
Yeah.
they will tell you that you need so much distance before, from a bend to the meter.
Mm-hmm.
Rest is up to you, for a meter to
sorry.
record properly.
so,
It sounds like we need to know how many options for horns that there will be. We need to get those.
Or how
specs.
many are we willing to accept in our
Sure,
system,
sure.
right?
So maybe 3,
Right,
and then have those sheets.
yeah.
And your house call guy from the DPW has to be informed enough about what they're doing to say, okay, you need this one.
Yeah,
Call a plumber, call us when you're done,
exactly.
or call us when you're doing it.
Right. When they go into a house, exactly. We're gonna make you need to make one of these 3 fit. Here's the one we recommend. This is what we need for space. Put a tag on the pipe, cut it in here, something, so that people that don't know, I mean, they get nervous.
yeah, so 2 things that, I don't know if I've tried to help or maybe I've hurt the situation, but I reached out to Corey in the last week and said that I would like him to come either this week or next week, and I actually just asked him, reiterated today that it's up to him whether he wants to do it this coming Monday or a week from Monday, to just give a report to council and the community about what's been done so far. And just because I think it's important for people to understand. A lot of people have been saying to me, hey, I see the signs around, that's really great. I mean, people are excited about it, I think, and interested.
Right.
So I think that's good news, unless you think that there's a disconnect between what we want and what Corey and his crew are doing. I don't think there is.
I don't think there's a disconnect. I think they need to be armed better.
We haven't.
Yes,
Yeah.
I agree entirely about that. And so my recommendation about that is, take what I was asking for one step further. I was saying to Carrie and Corey, what I would like you to do is create some kind of a checkoff that says, we were unable to install your meter for the following reason, and then it's got 6 boxes, too close to the wall.
Like a pink slip.
Doesn't have appropriate insulation, whatever, right?
Exactly.
And then we take the top sheet and leave them the bottom, or vice versa, right? They've got a record of it. It comes back and goes into our system as a record. So Carrie and Corey, we're going to work on that. I'm not quite sure where they are in that process at this point.
And
But
with
we
that
could-
sheet, leave us drawing.
Yes, and then leave a spec sheet with it, exactly. And we could ask Corey to come spend an evening with this group to just get all these questions on the table and say, okay, are we doing the kind of education we want to do in the moment? when folks are in the house? And if not, what do we need to do to make sure that our staff is appropriately equipped to give good information? Because I was I took 2 calls so far from people who said, I was all excited I was going to get a meter and then I didn't. I don't know why. Right? Well, that's not helpful.
Yeah.
Like,
And we have to make sure that we're consistent
right.
across the board.
That's right.
You know?
And I like your idea, and I think it's important that we connect with Corey, so we actually, because he stopped me on the road the other day, he says, hi, I'm Corey. He says, I just want to put a name to the face, and I never met him before.
I haven't met him yet.
So, the guy we're talking to and giving responsibility to, I'm certainly like to make eye contact with him, so we understand.
Right. No,
I'm
Corey
pretty encouraged.
and Ross are doing a good job with what they have to work with.
And they're getting back reports from the field guys saying, okay, this is a pause, because like this summary table with the meters installed, plumber needed, whatever, all that, like that's being filed away in a grand tracking sheet.
That's what we're.
Not accomplished.
Corey says yes, he is tracking that.
And like I said, a follow-up list.
Yeah.
Right, and we need to decide too if, okay, are we telling these people you have this long to get this plumbing change done? Or is it
I don't think we can
an
because-
open-ended?
I don't think we can yet, because that's a market-driven availability. You know, like plumbers are hard to get. I called my plumber about get my boiler service. I'm like, when do you think you're available? He's like, I'm gonna have to let you know. I'm like, okay.
No, absolutely, but I mean, we can, you know, like a 6 month window, they're gonna be able to find somebody.
I think we have an internal where it's like, okay, it's this amount of time has elapsed, let's call them. That's a Corey task, but I don't think we tell people, because then you give them an inch, they're gonna ask for a mile, you know?
Well, the
kind of
other
thing.
reason we can't tell people is that at this point, we have only the 50,000 in
Yeah.
the budget.
Yeah, right, yeah.
We're not equipped to do the whole community.
Right.
Until we know where we come out on the water tower, if there's anything left there.
Right.
The other reason the check the box sheet with the half dozen reasons is useful is that it's not necessarily plumbing
Yeah.
issues that prevent
Carpentry.
installation, because Tom mentioned that in his own house, he had a carpentry issue that had to be addressed because he had a finished basement, and it was finished where the
Yeah.
main pipe came into the house, and he ended up having to rip out a whole section of a built-in unit and do some sawing to.
Yeah, he told me about one that they've had, which was, it came in underneath a bathroom sink and there was no room to do anything in there. So it had to be, I suppose that's a plumbing issue, actually. You have to bring in the plumber.
They have a check sheet that goes down to Stacy when they get added on.
Yeah.
And that could also be a tracking mechanism on that one too.
That's what Carrie and Corey were talking about modifying
Yeah,
to do what we're talking about. That's what they were already saying.
It does sound like, the way I read this table is that as of the 29th, 34 meters have been installed by the city.
Yeah.
No, 29 meters have been installed by the city. No, yeah, 29 meters have been installed by the city. Last week, where
And how many were applied by plumbers?
5. That's all I've got. 6.
Yeah.
No, 5 installed by plumber. Yes. 5. No. 29. Some.
So-
34. So what I'm saying is, sounds like they are continuing to hit those low-hanging fruit, tracking the ones that need alterations, and I mean, they're almost on target for the Halloween
Yes, they are.
thing.
So, yeah, I'll call Corey and talk to him.
I think that's a great idea, Paul.
Because, like I said,
You're gonna set
the
up-
report I got isn't jiving with what I'm seeing here. So I want to wrap my head around that. The other thing too is we should, I don't know how easy this is. It should be fairly easy. We should, sorry, the office downstairs should pull some records of who had a meter installed, what their bill was pre-meter, what their bill is post-meter, And if people are seeing a big savings, we should almost do an advertisement where you
Savings
picture, you know, you interview Jennifer and saying in the advertisement, since I installed my water meter, my bill went down this much. It's going to give people incentive to say, boy, I really want my water meter installed.
It may.
It
What
sounds
makes-
like a temporary bait and switch.
That's right. What makes me nervous about that is it's gonna last a year and then they're gonna be back
Yeah.
up.
It all.
Right.
And then we'll take heat for it.
Number one.
Well, we're gonna take heat for it.
I'd rather take my heat down.
Just to let you know, you don't have to ask downstairs, I have the figures.
Yeah, you have the figures,
I have
yeah.
the figures, because I've flown that, and I just flowed the existing water meters to the disconnect of who doesn't have sewer. So I've got a spreadsheet that tracks that,
I mean,
and it's all over the place,
yeah,
yeah. Well, overall, we are seeing a drop in billable water as a
Yeah.
result of having.
Which
heat.
we-
Ready to go.
And
we thought.
when you look at it, you know, the average that everybody's using is below the 13.5.
yeah, which we
that-
anticipated.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah, even though people thought that was too low, it's not turning out that way.
No, it's not.
And I don't have any of that stuff on my iPad.
But that's just going to point to the fact that we have bigger issues than
Yes. yeah,
metered water. We have leaks,
Yeah.
Or something.
and we're pumping and treating water for no reason.
Yep.
Which is what, you know, the prior committee knew. I
Right.
mean, we made that rash assumption, but just, and it's. it's proven.
And then the city's on the hook for answering why they haven't been looking for those leaks. Unfortunately,
They've been.
We're gonna, if that's what we find out,
yeah.
then we'll fix it. That's it. We can't know until we know.
So where does our water production actually stand on an average daily basis now compared to before meters were started 15 odd years ago?
I don't.
Production or usage?
Well,
It's the same thing at this point.
Well, what we're making, what's
Well-
going on are two different things.
I don't have, the problem we have is, one of the things is, we read the meters at a certain time.
Right.
We do the monthly figures, which is, I've only seen monthly on our pumping capacity.
Right.
And that month doesn't agree with the meter read month. So you just sit there and say you've got whatever it is, 7 days in there, which can go either way. So you never can be exact.
But as more meters gets installed, we don't have to bill monthly, but there's absolutely no reason we can't read monthly.
We can, but the main thing is the capacity. If we could get, say, the daily pump for the days prior to when we read the meters, and then the days after reading the meters, then we can get the real pump capacity. That's what we need, and I don't know whether that's there. The meters are all read within, you know, a day or two of each other.
Yeah.
But the fact that it's umpteen days, 7 days into the month, and I don't know how they're tracking the month. Is the month where they're saying, this is what we pump this month? Is it, you know, the 1st to the 31st? Or what? So I know when, we know when the meters are read.
Well, as far as pumping, I mean, because they're using chlorine, they should know what they're pumping every day.
It should be a daily report.
Then,
because-
yeah,
Right.
but, you know, I haven't seen the daily report. Get the daily report. If we can get it for, what have I got broken down? The May billing and the August billing. So if we can get the monthly report of what was pumped daily for this year,
Mm-hmm.
we could figure that out fairly closely.
Yep.
So if that's a possibility, get them to me.
Well, I mean, it's gotta be reported to the state, so.
Yeah, and all I've seen
I
is the
would dare to say
monthlies.
there's an end of the day report and a shift
Yeah.
report.
Oh, there should be.
better
It's,
be.
it's not something that we've had access to, so I don't know where those
Is it-
figures come
Who
from.
would tell us, Corey? Since Tom's on vacation the next 3 weeks, he left us.
Well,
So, no, that would be
the plant,
Jason.
Jason, the plant manager.
So let's reach out to Jason and ask.
Right. And that's, so, and I don't know. So Jason, we could ask to sit in on these meetings, which not the last meeting because I couldn't make it, but the meeting before was something I alluded to. Corey's bargaining unit, so if you want him to sit in, you gotta pay him. But Jason should probably be sitting in on these meetings because he can answer these questions. As we've witnessed, I don't believe Tom can answer the questions. We need Jason. And then,
Well, okay, so let's start by asking Tom and Jason to attend the next meeting.
yeah,
Not Tom,
Jason
sorry,
and-
Jason and Corey. to
Jason and
attend.
Corey, yeah,
I'm happy to do that.
yeah,
I agree with that. It's so crucial for us to understand what they understand.
right,
Yeah.
right. Because I'd have to look back, but 2 million gallons sticks into my head, but I don't know if that was quarterly or, hang on,
I don't know the last time I've seen
water
some of the
ordinance,
water capacity things.
Derby contract, rates, production.
So if that's Jason,
Herman,
okay,
Jason Herman. I have his email. I emailed him today for something.
okay.
So we're
Do you want to
producing,
email him for this and ask him? to
When we've
send-
decided on what our
Yeah.
next meeting will be,
Yeah,
I'll send a note to both Corey and Jason and ask them to
and
come.
if he has the daily,
Yeah, I will
Part-time.
ask them how it would shift their weekly obligations if they had to give us 2 hours on a Thursday night.
so average
I'm
monthly.
not the one supervising them, so I need to be a little
Right.
careful about that.
Average monthly production, just real rough math, looks like about 2 million gallons a month we're pumping out.
That's it?
Which is what,
Per
I
month?
heard that number before.
that doesn't line up because you get
Wait,
10 million.
hang on.
if you're-
That's per day.
Sorry, 20 million.
Okay.
I had a comma in the wrong place.
Okay.
And here's the kicker. We're only treating 16 million gallons a month in wastewater. So there's 4 million gallons a month.
What quarter is that?
Is that on the? is
So
that
it's
accounted
this is from 2022 to March of 24.
Okay, well, there's lawns, obviously, there's
Right.
pools, there's
Well, that
people
I
who
gave
are on
you
city water but
January.
not septic.
I gave you
Yeah.
January.
You said March 2022 to 2024.
Right, but the numbers I just
Oh,
used
for January.
were for a month of
Okay.
January.
If we can get more contemporary, we used 38 million gallons is what we metered out in August.
August of,
Wow.
This year?
Well, that's what those things add up to. Everybody got this sheet from Stacy, right?
I didn't get
I
that.
didn't get that.
yes, I think so.
Yeah, we got that last
I
night.
don't know.
Yeah. I
One
just added these things up. You know,
I
there's
got this one.
8 million, 7 million, 11 million, 10 million.
No, I got this. I didn't get that.
That's the same thing. Should
Oh,
be.
just different?
Yeah,
Oh,
yeah, different ways it's printed. Yeah.
Can I see the face of that?
So 38 million gallons in August of this year.
No, it's, well, 3 months.
Oh, 3 months.
That's
3
3
months.
months, 38 million gallons in 3 months.
That's each
Yeah.
quarter.
Yeah, that's the quarter.
water.
That's what we're billing at. Yeah.
Yeah,
So
Well,
these
that-
are the figures that I'm
How the hell
using.
is January 40 million gallons or 20 million gallons?
Yeah, that's,
Because it's a different January to begin with.
right. So
That's
if we go to
22
January of 24, we pumped out 18.5 and only treated 17.7.
Can we get that sheet updated? Because I don't know about anybody else. We're dealing with August 25 for what we have here.
Right.
So we are a little-
This sheet came.
Well,
who did
I'm
this
just
sheet-
trying to see if there's a pattern of produced versus treated and if there's
Right, yeah.
Yeah.
I see
So
it.
it's valuable, but yeah, I get it.
Right.
And then you've got.
I mean, we can make copies. I've got.
Yeah,
You
we
can
make
see your
copies of
yearly
this if you
increase
want.
from there, I can see where he's got, yeah.
Yeah.
and then you do have another support, which is Columbia Forest Products, that brings in their own water. But a
it
lot of
sends it to
times we're
actually-
treating.
Yeah,
That may
because we're,
explain August,
Yeah.
because they had to run a separate line that the
this
city
was,
was
this was
providing
to
for
the
them.
beginning of August.
Okay.
As far as I know, that
'Cause-
line didn't go in till July, yeah.
Because Scotts Cove got dry enough that they couldn't run their cooling water for their logs from Scotts Cove this
Yeah.
month.
Yeah,
So they had to run some kind of a special line with help from the
Yeah.
fire department.
the
Well,
line
there's-
exists and it just was using the pump that normally they do the water tanks with.
Yep.
Yeah, the produced versus treated just emphasizes that getting meters into every place that's water only makes a lot of sense, so that you can isolate out all the
Leaks.
people on septic systems and
Yeah.
whatnot, and really
Yeah.
narrow down the disparity.
Yeah. And
Which is why I'm flowing the in and the over to see where they fall.
do we know
The
when?
Conversely, is like if you start prioritizing the metered water only, you're dedicating resources to track water usage in a house that isn't actually paying septic or sewer fees.
Yeah, some have water only and then their own septic.
And they're not generating as much revenue as somebody who's got both connections.
Yeah, but you only have, I believe it's 100,
Of non-sewer.
yeah,
That aren't metered?
yeah.
Well, because everybody on the lake
And
road
this is-
beyond Bogner is water
this is-
only. There's no no city sewer anywhere there.
Yeah, a lot of them have the water,
Oh,
so that's
oh, yeah.
the main part of the 100 is out that way. You can see these groupings that are there. You know, it goes so far and then there's this, you know, everything beyond it. It's why I decided to flow, so I'm taking the sewer and the water, which are two different sheets, and matching them up. So now I know who doesn't have anything and where they fall. Most of them that don't have the sewer are falling below the 13.5.
Now, is the new water tank online?
No, it should be, I suspect that in the next week to 10 days, they will fill it and test everything. And I think by the middle of the month, roughly, we should be up and running.
So keep that in mind, that we'll have to throw the numbers for September out, because the production for that, I mean, they're gonna
Yeah.
fill it, they're gonna flush it, they're gonna fill it again, disinfect
Well, I think they're
it.
filling it from, Derby's gonna fill it.
Well, you know,
For
I'm
us.
saying,
Derby's filling it?
does that complete our obligation to them now, or is that?
It will, when we switch over, then we will have to pay $30,000 to the village of Derby, because that's what the contract says, when they lose anticipated income, and then we'll be free and clear.
Including this
And-
flush?
I'm sorry?
Including this flush cycle?
No. So we'll pay something for the water,
All right.
but Derby's providing it, not us. It's coming out of the reservoir, as I understand it.
Interesting, okay.
So, and then we will pick up, we've been buying water, it's crazy actually, we've been paying Derby for the water for the customers on our side of the road, that, you know, who are our customers. We've been paying Derby their rates, and then we've been charging less for the water than Derby charges us to match our rates for those. So that anomaly will go away, and we will pick up the customers on the other side of the road that have been Derby customers in the
6
past.
of them?
And we'll start charging, I don't know, something like that.
Yeah.
But they're all, pretty much all commercial, so. So that, I think the transition should be entirely complete by the end of September, is my suspicion. And
So-
then one more piece of information about
I
that
have that one.
is,
No, John.
I still don't have a final number, but I have increasing confidence that we will have a significant amount of money that we can dedicate toward meters when we finish when I get the final bills all in on the water tower. So I think in the several $100,000 range.
Bearing in mind, though, that we were advised that there's a battery thing, we don't buy them now ahead of the game, we want to buy them,
As
No, it's not that we buy them ahead, that's right,
Yeah.
that's right.
so we're not like buying $100,000 worth of meters.
No,
We're
no.
probably setting aside for meters.
Right. I mean, if it's literally according to that long, the email I sent out with all the questions, if it's literally taking them only 30 minutes to do an install
On an easy install,
on a, well,
a straightforward install.
we're supposedly only doing straightforward
I understand.
installs, because if it's not straightforward, because the last thing we wanna do is show favoritism and say, well, we'll cut this valve in for you.
Right,
you know?
I don't get the feeling that's what's happening.
Right, so I guess where I was going with that, I mean, 4 meters a day, if it's only 30 minutes, is a pretty low production rate. So we should be able to step that up. Even if it was an hour, I mean, you should be able to get, I would think, 6 meters in.
6.
You know?
And I think Tom is expecting that he's gonna put a second team up.
Yeah.
Yeah, and that's a question of scheduling, so you're not running all over town too.
Right.
No, they were in and out of my house in 20 minutes last week
Yeah.
to do the meter.
Yeah.
Really?
I had the same
Literally.
experience with my man.
What, did they get signs up? Yard signs at all? Did you notice that?
It wouldn't do any good on my street because I think 4 of the 6 houses are metered.
Oh.
You'd put it out on the lake road, I would think.
But I am hearing people talk about the signs.
Do we have some of them out there? Okay, so we do have good response.
And I'm hearing people responding to the hangers at the doors. So, you know, one thing, in my judgment, I would characterize, with understanding that there are questions we have for Corey about how it's working, but I would characterize what's gone on the last month as a real success. We said we had a lot to learn. We adjusted how we were managing the information about the hangers, and people are beginning to call. So we're getting a little bit of a list going. I think it's working.
We got a momentum.
And now we fine tune it, make sure we're leaving the right information
Yeah.
when we go, right?
Yeah.
And we just, and then the further we go, the better we're gonna get at this.
Yeah, and then, you know, the 4 per day, that, you know, taking into consideration that's handing out door knobs, door hangers, that's scheduling them, that's getting back to Corey as to what was doable, what wasn't.
Plus they're finalizing
And, well,
some progress.
And the ones you can't do
4 per
on-
day might just be the
Basic
calls we're
there.
getting. We might just
Right,
be only
it may be-
getting.
It could be, yeah,
That's
right.
which is a question that needs to be answered.
Yeah. So we have, Carl's done a great job getting probably 200, 300
Phone numbers?
phone numbers right here. I really wish I had done
Like
you a
40 a
solid.
page, I think.
I wish I had done you a solid and sorted these by address. Because they're sorted by last name, which is great until you run into like, you know, an LLC where it's all scrambled and, but I think,
Almost all LLCs, there's no numbers at all.
yeah, yeah.
I thought it was easier for him to go alphabetically by the person's name than worrying about streets.
Yeah.
I
I just don't know how Corey thinks,
Yeah.
you know, his
And that's
spreadsheets.
why,
Yeah, well, we can take that and start inputting it into a spreadsheet.
Yeah, we could. I'm just thinking like, you know, the name of the owner changes, property
right,
address.
and that's,
You're gonna run into a few of those, because a lot of them are out of staters, are probably property owners, or somebody who,
Yeah.
Rents
I
it.
found the number that
Yeah.
was here but left, but I still
Yeah.
had another track.
But, you
So we're
know,
gonna
this is
have
one of
bumps
the
and
things
bumps.
which is why I get set Carl up first with the spreadsheet,
Mhm.
because we could resort it. But the other thing was, it's, you know, the address is there, so if he wanted to, he could check and see if the address lines up with the address that is on white pages to what we have.
and-
Otherwise, there's nothing else you could really do, because, you know, unless we want to spend the time going through the city records, the assessor's records,
Yeah, yeah.
you know.
That should propel us forward, I would say.
Yeah.
a
I mean,
great
we're gonna bottom out maybe on 10-20% of those.
Yeah.
You're considering what the
No, I think-
transpire, yeah.
Yeah, I think,
And they might sit there and say, I sold that place 5 years ago, you know.
yeah,
But,
Who'd you sell it to? We need that number.
yeah, you got it.
Can we just go back to one thing that worries me a little bit, which is, we're talking about there being possibly a couple of $100,000 out of the water tower money that might be left over. And I'd like to make sure, because in the past, when there was money. John Wood once said he had enough money one year to put in all meters if people had wanted meters at that time. By the next year, he didn't have any money somehow for the water meters. I would like an effort to be made to put that money, whatever amount it is, which you're not going to spend immediately, into some sort of dedicated fund that won't be a fund that could be touched for other things.
A conversation for the finance team.
Pardon?
It's a conversation for the finance team.
And
It is absolutely appropriate to ask, and there is only one legitimate expenditure for this money, because it's bond money that was given with a very specific purpose.
Yeah.
I don't even know that we have to take it all at once. I would far prefer not to bond for the, to bond for the permission to do the full amount somehow, because which may be possible. If we were working this through the Vermont Bond Bank, then I think we'd have to take it all at once, and the payback is the payback no matter what you do, is what I'm learning, right? It doesn't matter if you pay it early, it just kind of is what it is. But if we do most of the work that we're talking about here in the next year on the interim note in anticipation of bond income, before we go to the bond bank, then I think there's probably a good chance that we could go to Pasumsic and say, we don't want this $200,000, we want to take it more like a line of credit where we borrow it when we're ready for the next meters, right? So we're not sitting on money that we're paying interest on. So there's a bunch of questions around this that are absolutely legitimate. I just don't think we can answer them.
I just don't want it to disappear.
Me neither.
But what you're saying, can you put a fund that's earmarked for that
No,
only?
Whatever method is used.
I thought
I
that's what you
do
sounded.
think, because it was a special vote where the people agreed to do this, we really have to come up and say, it is X amount of money that is going to, purchase meters for installation.
We absolutely will. I don't know why we would do anything else.
Yeah, well,
Because history says we
Well,
have.
but recent history says that we're handling these things very differently.
yeah,
Okay, I just wanted
Yeah.
a reminder.
yeah.
So, I mean, we're gonna have them at the next, hopefully, have them at the next meeting, but I think it's become very important that we need Corey and Jason at every meeting where we're gonna be talking about meters.
Well, let's take them one step at a time. Let's get them to the next meeting, see how that goes. I don't want to make decisions without Tom in the room, and he's gone for the next 3 weeks. So I have no problem inviting Corey and Jason to come to a meeting.
Yep.
I'm not the one supervising these guys, and I want to be careful not to imply that I am. Okay? So I'm not saying you're wrong, I'm just saying let's
Right.
take it one
Yeah.
piece at a time. I think we've discussed that one enough. What else we got?
Okay, so the other two things that I had on the list involved the ordinance and whether or when we might anticipate having enough information to start the budget analysis, given that we have an end of October deadline for the council to approve any rate adjustments.
You want to do the ordinance first, Paul? We'll talk about that. I've got some info on the second one.
Yeah, yes, yeah, and as far as the ordinance goes, Paul took a shot at making some changes.
Yeah.
Jennifer took a subsequent shot at making some
I
changes.
didn't know that.
And I've been making a lot of notes.
Yeah.
I haven't tried to input any of mine in because I can't figure out how to use Microsoft Word, being a word
Join the
perfect
club.
person. And I just,
Well,
it was taking too long, so.
if you get me your changes, I will enter them. The last meeting I was at, I'm gonna just reiterate what I said, is that my time is going to be very limited until December. I have other commitments that, sorry, City of Newport, take precedence.
It's understandable.
I have a question apropos of editing. I mean, some of the editing I did was sort of like yours. It's a misspelling that is carried
Yeah,
over for
yeah.
years. Adding water to the capacity, because we also have the sewer capacity
Yeah.
form, and trying to have consistency that way. But with it all red lined, it's like you can't see the forest through the trees.
Right, I think that
And
basically,
how do we do that?
I think those things, I mean, I'm willing to say that those simple things, we just do the edit and click accept edit.
Yeah,
And then the context stuff leave as comment or redlined.
and I guess I should explain, Paul shared his draft with John and I would ask for. So you guys didn't see the draft, because it sort of was in a real basic
Right,
reading stage.
you were looking at it from a historical aspect,
Yeah.
he was looking at it from a legal aspect.
Yeah,
And we were basically gonna merge what I saw as deficiencies in a water ordinance, water sewer ordinance. You were and you were gonna add any historical stuff and legal, and then we were just gonna present
yeah.
the combined thing to the group.
Where did we wash out on the question of the specs and whether they would be in the ordinance or as a separate document? Wasn't there a whole bunch of thing about specifications that you were waiting for from Tom?
I have not gotten an answer.
I think that the whole thing is you reference a spec sheet,
Right.
because the specs could change.
It works for me.
You know,
And-
that's the only way around
Right.
not having
You-
a.
We've got to
good
pull the
ordinance.
specifications out of the ordinance, otherwise the council is going to have to vote every time that,
Love it. You
Yeah.
had me at hello. That's
Well,
great.
there's that whole other separate ordinance, technical specs ordinance that was
Yeah.
approved, that somehow needs to be coordinated with this, and there were aspects of it that needed to be coordinated with the updated zoning too.
right,
Because Frank brought that to the planning commission and said, we have this technical specifications ordinance for roads, water, sewer, all kinds of standards, and it doesn't, not all of it necessarily flows with the zoning. And some of it clearly ties into this and into the sewer ordinance. And they all need to be consistent in the sense that all of the specs need to be in one place, in one unified document, rather than scattered across three.
exactly.
Yeah,
There
it
needs to be
doesn't-
a
it
city
doesn't-
of Newport specification.
The ordinance should not have that.
It should
Yeah,
not.
and-
Those
it
are,
does.
those
All
are
in
reference texts that are updated.
Reference.
So we've beaten that to
Yeah.
death, let's go on to something
Okay,
else.
so
And the
here's my,
Yeah,
go ahead, John.
The technical specs are subject to change through several outside sources.
Manufacturers, yeah. the state.
Manufacturers, state plumbing codes, the state potable water, wastewater regulations, and there's a whole slew of outside sources that can cause changes. And so
Yeah.
I don't think the council should be voting on, all of those hyper-technical engineering specifications every time some outside body imposes a change that's essentially mandatory.
So you're saying that spec sheets don't need council approval at the end of the day if we pull them out of the charter anyway?
You could leave it that when the city's spec is rewritten, council could approve it, but ordinance, voters have to, correct?
Voters have veto power over
Yeah.
ordinances.
Right.
Council approves them, and the voters can petition to have a citywide vote within
Right.
X number of days after the council approves.
But
So-
not a mandatory vote?
yeah. And it's always been, I mean, one of these things, they have the backflow prevention, shall be constructed in accordance with the city's backflow prevention policy.
Right.
That's
So,
all you
okay.
need in there, and then.
That's the quick
you know,
reference, and then you go down.
Yeah.
For the clarity.
And that was.
And somebody else obviously has to write the specs.
That's
in
a
this
specific
committee,
question
unless
that we
Paul's
had, because we
volunteering.
don't know
Nope.
the answer as to whether there is a backflow prevention policy,
Yeah.
or whether it's included in that giant specs document that's
Yeah.
all incomprehensible engineering and higher mathematics,
Right.
as far as
Well,
I'm
there,
concerned.
yeah.
Okay, so here's what I think. First of all, one thing I've learned from Chip over the last 4 months is that he often takes big, overwhelming tasks and divides them into bite-sized pieces, and he's educated the council one step at a time and kind of brought the council along in a way that I found really helpful. So one thing I would say is, let's not try and let's not say that we've got to have the ordinance all finished and the spec sheets all done and everything all done at the same time. Let's get the ordinance done, take it to council, and I picture at least a 2-step process where the water and sewer group would come to council and say, here are the substantive questions where we've made, our comments are here because we've made substantive change. And answer any questions and say, now we're gonna come back 2 weeks from now and and we'll vote on it. We'll answer any other questions and then vote. So they're not seeing it for the first time or reading it over the weekend and then seeing it for the first time on that Monday night. So my answer would be, great, pull the specs out, and how close are we to being able to get to a final version of that ordinance so we could look at it this fall?
Yeah, I think that I don't think we're going to be changing a lot of substance in the ordinance as much as fixing inconsistencies, clarifications.
Right.
I found some citation errors in it
There-
and other issues.
Yeah.
And for instance, some of Paul's changes involved how you present the table of contents so that people can find things. To me, that's a no-brainer.
Yeah.
Right.
You just do it.
Yeah.
And there are other, some of the definitions, I think, were overly complicated and redundant, and need some work. And then there were a couple of provisions I ran into where there are dangling sentences that were never really finished.
Right.
Do you all need help from Carrie to take the Microsoft Word document we've been working on and create the final version of this that has hyperlinks from things in the contents to where it is in the document? And like, she can do all that.
I think not at this point because it's simplistic. The table of contents, it doesn't have to hyperlink to anything.
Well, it depends on how long a document it is.
Yeah, it absolutely should in this day and age.
It's
Well,
easy
final-
to do.
Yeah, well, I think once we get it done, she
Yeah.
can add the
The final
hyperlinks right
draft,
now.
right,
okay.
It's, it's not.
So what do we have to
that
do?
bad.
I'll go back to my question. What is, I don't understand, because you all have been looking at it, not me. What has to get done and how much time do we need to complete it? And can we come up with a target goal for when we present this to council?
I think you're gonna have 3 different answers on that one.
Right.
Yeah.
So,
Yeah, we basically need to coordinate or get all of this into one document. And,
Well, that's what I'm saying. Is that something we should put Carrie to work on?
So don't you guys have Google server? Can't you just turn this into a Word doc that you all three can work in
you
simultaneously?
can't do that unless you call a meeting.
Right,
Oh, it's 3, yeah.
he's right.
Yeah, you can't do that unless you call a meeting to have people work on a shared Google document.
Well, we can if it's not 3 council members,
That is true.
right? We don't have to, we don't need to
You're
worry
the
about
only
the open
council
meeting law
member.
thing to work
I'm a
on.
volunteer.
Yeah, you're the only
Yeah,
council
exactly.
member, right?
And also, you don't. I'm not meaning like all three of you literally have to be in at the same time, but you could if you wanted to.
Yeah.
I mean,
That doesn't count if you're 3 council members, unfortunately.
That's right, but it doesn't matter in this
Right,
instance.
because you're not.
I mean, I can throw it on my personal Google Drive and just share.
Well, Carrie can take this document and create a Google Doc on a city drive that you all would have access to.
So-
It should live on a city.
Well, she's gonna have to start coming into this as well too, I think.
She can, she'll come over when she needs to.
As long as it's not a Google, it needs to stay in Word format for me.
It's pretty similar. Paul, have you tried to work it?
It's nowhere near as powerful as far as tracking edits and, I mean, I can try it.
Well,
I'll
I
try
don't want to
it.
mess you up. I'm just trying to figure out how to help you get to the end.
I
of the
mean, that's
process.
how it was given to me as a Word document. So it's on the city's thing somewhere as a Word document. Before I forget this point though, you don't want to pass an ordinance referencing city specs if a city spec doesn't exist.
True.
So they really need to be done at the same time.
Okay, that's helpful to hear.
So the department heads should be working on merging all the different city specifications, road, water, sewer, zoning, into a larger city specification that the water sewer ordinance, the planning and zoning ordinance, that all that stuff is going to reference a title and say City Newport specifications, latest revision. So,
But we're not gonna get that in any reasonable time frame. So is there wordsmithing that can be written in the ordinance to refer to the latest version of whatever relevant specifications
We
exist.
can refer to
at
the
time.
existing document, and I think,
But then you're stuck going back to the, updating the ordinance again.
Yeah. There might be a way around it.
Why is it that the ordinance has to say
Just say it refers to the city, to the
date,
current city.
this
current city-
specifications dated this, why can't it say the most current city specifications, yeah?
Yeah, and that doesn't lock you into anything.
I know we tried to fudge some of that in the zoning so that we wouldn't have to go back and rewrite a lot of detail for that very reason.
Maybe we can steal the language.
Anyway,
Yeah.
we need to look at
I
it.
mean-
And you're right, you are right, I just don't think we're
Yeah,
gonna get
no,
that.
it's just, that's just not my style,
Yeah,
you know?
yeah.
I just,
But at the moment, we have things in the ordinance that limit our power, or things that aren't in the ordinance that limit our power, and that is mandating meters, right? That's not actually in the ordinance, is that
no,
correct?
it is.
Well,
It
it's-
is.
it's-
Okay.
I thought we discussed that, and we have
Yeah.
mandated city now.
Right,
Everything
and
is
it's a
city.
civil fine.
Okay,
The
so
only
but
thing
there's
it
no
doesn't-
right for us to go into the house,
No, we
there's
can
no
go-
right for us to lobby fees or fines or anything for
There is.
non-communication.
It is a
There is.
civil.
Okay.
Yeah.
Well, that's
Yeah.
when we balance, we get tax sale or whatever. that's
Okay.
what-
Right, the only thing it's missing is the ability to shut water off.
Okay,
And that's the
okay,
only thing you can't.
Right. But we can level civil fine,
okay.
levy civil
Yeah.
fines.
And I'm sure it references something that is out of date and doesn't really provide any clarity as to how you actually go about levying a fine. So that's something that a department has to develop and
Well,
bring council.
there is actually an entire procedure
Is there?
for civil ordinance ticketing, because zoning and a number of other city-related matters are handled that way. And it's a statewide procedure.
Okay, it is.
And
So we can reference a greater document.
yeah, I'd have to look it up. I don't remember it exactly, but for instance, Frank, the zoning administrator, is currently authorized and actually has a ticket book where he can issue citations for zoning violations and
He gets a badge.
abandoned building violations. And those are handled through, try to remember how this works. It goes through the traffic court's the wrong acronym, but it's that particular division of the court system that happens to handle traffic tickets. They also handle municipal ordinance tickets, and in the case of the ordinances, most of those would be appealed from there to the environmental court if somebody wants to fight it and take it to the next level. But there is the ability to issue
Okay, good.
civil citations, so we'll need to cross-reference all of that.
So here's my point. The point I want to make, I want to impress upon you is that we have significantly more capacity now than we had 2 weeks ago. We have a competent person who is happy to take on work, and if we can define the task, like referencing the following specifications and pulling them all into one document, Carrie can make that happen so that we don't have to waste weeks trying to make it happen.
That would be great, so.
So what needs to
Tom-
be in it?
Well, she's gonna need to talk to Tom, she's gonna need to talk to
Is
Frank.
she available for a meeting too?
And they're gonna have to tell her, okay, here's my specification for this, you know, so on and so on. They're gonna have to forward her that stuff, she's gonna have to merge it into one larger city specification.
Well, the technical specification document, I don't have it with me, but it must be at least 100 pages.
Yeah.
Are we talking like the water main,
Yeah, what
sewer
are we talking
main?
about?
These are like technical drawings and requirements for sewer hookups, water hookups, subdivision development, right? That's what you're referring to?
Right, roads.
So
Our
I don't
roads,
see why
you know.
we have to call Tom, like, isn't that something we have available to
Maybe.
us?
I don't
So I guess we have to see if it needs to be revised or updated?
No, what I'm saying, right, so if she can merge all that stuff into one document, and then each department head can take that one document and say, okay, this needs to be updated. But she can start with a merge of what we have
Okay.
into one city specification. Then Tom and Frank and
Go through their relevant sections.
Right.
And
Okay.
who? Is it just the two of them? I mean, who are we really, that's what I'm
Fire
trying to get my-
chief, right?
yeah,
What?
fire,
Chief.
Rec,
There's some.
rec, yeah.
I see, uh-huh.
Is rec gonna have it?
It should encompass every department the city has that has a specification for something.
That's what I'm wondering, like, would the rec department have specifications for
I don't
anything?
think so.
Running the Gateway building?
Yeah. And Frank, I think, actually
Running
has somewhat of a
gateway
handle
building.
on
Yeah.
at least some of the issues with that document as they apply to water, sewer, road.
That does seem like a good task for her to be the
Yeah.
nexus for
That's what I
and
was
chase
saying,
down
next time
whoever
we
needs.
Yeah.
It's much better than worrying about this document, because I think we've got it already. We're just tweaking here and there.
Right.
So it doesn't, all we
And then
need to
you
do is
have a, this is where we started, this is the edits we
Yeah.
need. It's
Yeah.
pretty
I think
straightforward.
it should just be inputted and be done,
Yes.
really.
So is this document gonna be like an SOP and specifications?
Which
Well,
document?
Like, you're talking about renting the gateway, that's not a specification,
Yeah,
that's a
that's
standard
not-
operating
No,
procedure,
I was trying to think what.
But no, but that's a good point, like, if we're gonna be that broadly encompassed, then it needs to have a name that makes sense that we can start using in your edits,
Right.
because.
So forgive me, but why does this have anything to do with anything other than stuff that's touched by our water or sewer system in the city? Like, I don't think we're talking about creating a whole new SOP for the entire city in every process we do, right?
No,
All
we're not
doing is
talking
saying,
an SOP.
If water
The
or
temp-
sewer touches it,
right, and what are they using and
Well,
how are they using it?
Do you want to have a citywide specification that covers building, or do you want to have a separate building specification, a separate water specification, a separate, so that every ordinance, you could build a citywide specification that every ordinance would reference. Now, that's up to the department heads,
And
right?
the outline of that document, at least in terms of water, sewer, roads, already exists.
Is this a task force
it may be-
task, or does this belong to the planning commission?
Well, it's actually a city ordinance because it was adopted by the council. And a lot of the technical aspects of it are really outside of the planning commission jurisdiction. But the commission talked about it, and we asked for information. And during the last couple of years, it just kept getting sidetracked because of other issues. But it's going to have
Yeah.
to come back at some point.
And this-
Yeah.
Yeah.
But I think that there are a lot of the edits that have been made so far in this, to me, make a fair amount of sense. I'm trying to figure out why some other provisions were in here in the first place. And
Right.
there was one that baffled me, which said all single-family existing, this is the actual sentence, all single-family existing prior to May of 2016 shall be provided meters by the city. One, why are single-family residences being singled out? And two, if we have a meter mandate, why don't we just say so somewhere explicitly?
Right.
so let me just try and hunker down here for a moment. I want to be really careful not to let the perfect be the enemy of the good on this project, right? I want to get us to the point where the new ordinance is in place and that it has specifications to back it up. So in the long run, you may be absolutely right, Paul, that we want one document that is easy to go and reference for any kind of a specification, whether it's a
Right.
building code or whatever in the city. I don't think that's the task in the next month. I think in the next month, anything that's referenced in the current or future water or sewer ordinance would be in this new specifications document. No?
No. It sounds like the specs need to be pulled out and the ordinance needs to be revised or truncated.
That's what I'm saying.
Okay.
I'm agreeing with you. I'm saying that anything that's in the ordinance or is referenced in the ordinance or will be in the next ordinance, the one that we're working on right
Yeah.
now, There needs to be a specifications document into which it goes, and that's all it needs right now. We do not need to worry about all the other things that might, in a perfect world, be in that document. And we can always expand it later on, but that's a project for next year, or the next mayor, or somebody, I don't know.
Well, it needs,
And just in the ordinance, it just says
They need a
reference.
title.
we need a city
Report
manager.
ordinance.
Yeah.
That's the city
For
manager's
sure, that's
job.
right. I'm saying, let's not try and do all that work. Let's just get the new ordinance dealt with.
Okay, so all we need is an overlying title that we can reference in this document, and then we don't have to discuss this.
So,
Agreed.
So then that all falls
I'll
on
find my
Tom.
copy of that document and
call it
whatever the
report
title of
ordinance.
that document is, I'll slide into this.
Okay,
I know I have it in.
What's the title? What's the
doesn't
logical thing to
remember.
call
Newport
this?
City Water
It
Sewer
ha-
Specifications.
It has a name. It has a name, and I'll
as
find it
incorporated
and put
in
it in.
whatever the master document is.
So in 3 weeks, when Tom gets back, he needs to be locked in that office, and those specifications need to be updated and modernized and ready to go.
We can work on this.
Yeah.
I just need to get my head around these,
Yeah.
the specifics, and I think we're getting there, so.
So my question, Paul, is
Mhm.
if we're pulling out the tech specs, and those can be revised independent of the ordinance,
Yes.
is it absolutely critical to have the tech specs updated and be more contemporary at the same time that we're updating the ordinance? Or can the ordinance be updated, tech specs pulled out, and the tech specs is a working,
It would go.
not a working, but like under,
No,
you
I know
know,
what you're saying. It should go hand in hand with meter installations. The meter installation specifications should be in there.
Okay.
I think in a perfect world it should, but to go back, I think there's gonna be more in that document. And it will hang us up if we wait for that document. I think we do the ordinances with the reference, get the right title in there, move this along and see about getting the rest of the specs. Because to be honest, if Tom is on a 3-week vacation, we can't require him to be locked into that room. You know,
So-
that's just, that ain't gonna
Well-
happen. So we're a month down the road before literally Tom might have the time to even think about doing
is
this.
there currently no meter specs whatsoever in the ordinance?
Nothing.
Yeah. So that's the one thing I'm wondering is just from a practical implementation standpoint, is we don't really know precisely what horns we're going to be needing. I mean, a lot of these houses were built at the same time. We might find ourselves needing a specific horn that we don't know that we need yet. And we don't want to have that excluded from the ordinance or from the specifications if we try to put something together now and over the next 12 months, be like, well, darn, I wish we could use this one, whatever, piece of.
Well, I mean, I'll just say this. If you can't sense it, I have a very high frustration level with our public works department or the leadership of that public works department. These specs should be updated on a continual basis.
Like 25 years old.
And they're not looked at, they're not updated. It needs to be done.
Yep.
Somebody's feet have to be held to the fire, and this city, it has a habitual habit of putting Band-Aids on things. It's time to stop putting Band-Aids on things and fix them.
So we agree, and the way to get there, this is, you're welcome to the club of people who have been disappointed by my answer to this question, right? Because plenty of them exist, and some of them are in this room. The only way, in my judgment, to get to what you're talking about is to manage it by bite-sized chunks that don't go back and try and complain about the last 25 years of what should have been done, but focus on what we're going to do next to fix it. So my answer at this point is, let's create the document. All we have to do to get to what you're talking about is have the council vote to add a meter section to the current specifications that are in the document that Carrie's created, whatever it is, and whatever we name it. And we've got enough to roll with new ordinance. And then we work steadily, and I commit to you, we can do that work.
There is one difference. The difference is where the bite marks are.
Fair enough. I'm just saying, I understand, I do understand your point. It's not an ideal situation we've inherited here, right? And I think that it's possible to create what you're talking about, but I don't want to do it by saying all of this has to be fixed at the same time before we can do any part of it. I think we get there by chunking it up.
Right.
I agree.
Can I say one thing?
Absolutely.
Honestly, I think if we want specs for installing water meters, I might be wrong. Don't we go to the people who install them? Is it not Corey and some of the people at the plant who are gonna have better knowledge about what they've run into than their supervisor who's not standing over their shoulder while they're doing
might
it?
come from like the American Society of Civil Engineering.
That's right.
You know, like, or
So-
manufacturer instructions.
Well,
you know,
that,
like-
but what you, to your point, we don't wanna do a spec that we aren't going to, suddenly.
Utilize
Yeah,
or need to
utilize
change.
or need to change.
Yeah.
So who better to ask to review the specs, but these guys who are now doing this work?
Mm-hmm.
So if you can't ask those, I'm not
Yeah.
upset at you,
Yeah.
but if you cannot ask those guys supervisors what they're running into and what needs to change in the specs, there's an issue.
I suspect that we can have that conversation.
Yeah.
I mean, we have a lot more information now than we had a month ago. We don't have it around this table, but it's available to us. And we're talking about having Corey and Jason come have
Right.
that conversation with us.
Right.
So let's get them in here
Yeah.
and in the meantime, if there's something we can start with, like manufacturer specifications, we should have that in our hands so that we can say to them, what's working and what's not on this spec list.
So we need the specs from every Tyke sales product that we purchase, essentially, right?
Well,
start for
it
the
should,
meters.
it would start, I mean, the first thing that's gotta be spec'd out is, one of the things I wrote in the, it's typed in the ordinance so I don't forget it.
Yeah.
But for the specification that, all meters are purchased through the city, that nobody's, so the contractor comes in and builds
Absolutely.
a house, that needs to be put in there.
Some piece of junk's been sitting on the shelf for 8 years and.
Right, exactly. I've got other notes in the ordinance that
call
need
it?
to be added to the specs and stuff like that. But,
Yeah, there's some policy questions in here too that we need to look at. One is that there's a statement that the city maintains a running summary of committed reserve capacity and implicitly uncommitted reserve capacity. The summary can be obtained from ? Presumably the plant operator or the Department of Public Works.
Right.
I think we just need to say that. There's another one that says that the water commissioners are supposed to review or be provided with a report on uncommitted reserve capacity periodically. I think it says every 6 months now.
Yeah.
I'm sure that doesn't happen.
I feel
Yeah.
stupid. I don't know what reserve capacity is. Storage.
In other words, if the
reservoir?
plant is capable of producing, to make up numbers, 2 million gallons a day, and,
Okay, so we're talking sewer.
no,
No,
water.
Oh.
And allocated,
Water treated water, how much do we get?
and the paper allocations add up to 1 million gallons, then you've got 1 million in reserve.
Right.
It's basically keeping a running
Totally.
total of allocations.
It's why every new meter comes before the city. It's whether there's reserve capacity, and they have to
In the
pay,
system.
they have to pay fees. There are 3 fees that go through to get your house hooked up.
You're talking, so this is new hookups.
We're in new hookups right now.
But there's also something else in here that's interesting too, which is that there's also a section that says that anyone who owns property or plans to purchase property connected to the municipal water system which they plan to develop or to further develop, thereby creating a new use or expanding an existing use, need to apply for allocation. And depending on what people are doing, either Paul or Jennifer put a comment in, aren't building permits required? And the answer to that is not always, because there are some internal changes you can make within a residential structure that are going to increase capacity or
Use.
theoretical usage that do not trigger the need for a zoning permit because they're entirely inside the existing building envelope.
Like a
I've
new
got 4
bathroom.
jacuzzis in my bathrooms.
Or,
And there's another one that says if you sell the house, you have to go and apply for reserve capacity as a new homeowner.
Exactly.
But
Not
Paul,
done.
am I right that, I mean, this is a lot of the stuff that you bring experience with, like what actually needs to be in this ordinance, which.
Right, which is,
Even in terms of reporting back to water commissioners' functions,
Yeah.
right?
which is, up until mid-August, I was working on.
Yeah,
And
right.
Then,
yeah,
And then, like,
and
what to help.
then, yeah,
Right.
the one about purchasing property and having to reapply every time a property changes hands. I'm aware of one community in northeastern Vermont that did that for a long time. And they charged $188 for the privilege of transferring your service when you sold your house. And they found it to be so cumbersome and ridiculous that they amended their ordinance and got rid of it. Because a house is a house, it's connected. When the deed and transfer comes in for reporting downstairs, they switch the account over automatically and bill the new owner. You don't need
Yep.
an application and a whole fancy process to come before the city council sitting as water commissioners to say, yes, you can sell your house, Rick, and the new people can have water too. That's an unnecessary burden.
and
When
there,
meters were mandated, there was a provision, and I don't know if it ever got put into writing, that any time a house was sold, there was to be a meter put in. The cost would be borne as part of the housing transition.
It doesn't,
It's not in there.
that's
It's
not,
not.
it. That's,
That
that's,
was well and truly discussed and agreed on.
yeah.
And it's,
I don't-
but unfortunately, but like virtually unenforceable.
Yeah.
Well, and there is
Oh.
and there is a provision in here talking about pre-2016 houses being provided meters by the city.
All of which can come out.
so
And anyway, so I'm raising the issue, do we want to get into a system where every time a house or a commercial building changes hands, the council has to actually approve?
Absolutely not.
Yeah.
Okay, perfect, then I can get rid of
Yeah.
another quarter of a page.
Please do.
I gotta get this
That
out
was my
before I
feeling,
forget,
too.
you guys are gonna keep going. You, again, have a lot of experience, and he mentioned a northeast community. Is there another model we can pull from that had done this, and can provide some of those answers of what they did, how they addressed this in their ordinances, that we can reference and take a look at, maybe?
as far as property transfers,
Well, another
No,
town,
like
that-
plagiarize another town's
it's
ordinance.
not plagiarism, look
But,
at,
yeah.
Who said I'm not?
Make a joke.
no, I'm sure you are, I'm just saying, is there someone that's,
The question Carl's asking is a good one, which is Champlain Valley the best place to take it from? Champlain Valley, right, is what it's called?
well, so I'm referencing quite a bit. I'm referencing City of South Burlington.
City of South Burlington?
Yeah. As you can probably imagine, it's very detailed.
Yeah.
Now, before I forget, so on property transfers with more meters going in, we've got to get people to understand that there's going to have to be final meter reads,
Yes.
Which doesn't happen now
which
very
does
regularly.
exactly.
Because I've had 3 closings in the last month where what we've had to do, the fallback method that everybody in my business has kind of agreed upon is we get the meter reading, we get the billing for the last 3 or 4 quarters and just do an average and then prorate the average. And it's, it's going to be within a few dollars in most cases.
It should be just like contacting the power company.
Yeah, but that's exactly how it works in most of the other communities that are
Exactly.
metered. Like in North Troy, for instance, where most of the properties are metered, you just call the clerk's office a week or so ahead, and they send one of the public works guys out to read the meter,
the final.
and they give you a final bill.
And that's what the office downstairs is going to have to gear up for.
Yeah, and somebody from Public Works is going to have to run around and
Run
do
it
those
around and get
interim
individual
readings.
meter readings.
Okay, it's not like we're selling 50 houses a day around here.
Right, well, it applies to more than houses, it applies to commercial, anything.
Yeah.
But there's
Right.
still, the principle's the same, it shouldn't be that huge a burden.
Right.
It's just not,
So-
not being done.
Just
now.
I wanna try and move us to the last section here.
Yeah, there's another sort of policy question I wanted to throw out. I mean, I have a view on it, but I'm going to throw it out here. And that is that the current ordinance says that connection permits are supposed to be recorded in the city land records along with copies of all fees paid and reference to the location of the approval connection plans and specs. And that is absolutely not being done. You won't find a single one in the land records.
Yeah.
And that doesn't necessarily make any sense. There just needs to be a system for filing and tracking the permits that, and I think Tom has one. And I just think.
Is that what's gonna solve the problem when Paul can't find his curb stop? Really, I mean, that's the question I have. The most important part of that is, can we figure out in an emergency how to turn the water off at a curb stop?
Well, the problem with that is, for new construction, that should all be plotted out. But for a lot of the existing city construction, there are many parts of the city where there were never any as-built plans filed when line extensions or systems were built. I mean, I can remember 30, 40 years ago when almost none of the city was mapped in that sense. Tom's been working steadily at trying to document as they come up with things, but 40 years ago, the only documentation for many, many of the curb stops and line connections were literally little sketches on the backs of envelopes that were kept in the glove boxes of different city
20
trucks.
paces from the front door.
Yeah, exactly.
Exactly how they were.
If you were lucky, it was 40 paces and not 40 paces by a super short-legged person. They were that bad, you know, people would go out and try to figure it out and they.
Mine at the Legion has that same one.
And a lot of the older parts of the city aren't documented at all. So it's catch as catch can in terms of finding it.
We had to contact the old, head of Public Works to find a curb stop for Governor's Mansion
Yeah.
when they were doing that reconstruction.
It's funny, when Rick had mentioned that, I was writing down at the same time. We also, with Tom as well too, we still need to be on top of lead copper transit as well too.
Right.
Oh, yeah.
So we can't forget that.
Yeah, they're working it.
Yeah.
So, does that answer the question you're asking about what the ordinance should say, John?
Well,
Are you asking a question about what the ordinance should reference?
yeah, I mean, I'm thinking we should just take that out completely.
So,
There's another policy.
Hold on. Do you have an opinion about that?
so something like that should be in the specifications.
Okay.
Where when new lines are built, the builder, the developer, whatever, is responsible for turning in as-bills to the city with ties, with all the changes. You don't just get a line approved, throw it in the ground and walk away. You have an engineered as-built drawing with tie pages, with everything. So that it's
is
ready to
expensive.
go when it gets to the public work director's office. Don't forget, I got one thing for you on reserve capacity.
Yeah, and then there's a whole section in here about steam thawing water lines.
Yeah.
Well, that's it.
And,
Specifications, not ordinance.
right, and some of that makes no sense at all, which is that if the line is frozen only on the city side of the curb stop, the customer still has to pay for half of the cost of thawing.
And then there's the times when you only have to pay once and times when you have to pay
Welcome to
every
Newport,
single
Vermont.
time,
I love
you know.
this.
I mean, it's.
There's no consistency in there, absolutely none.
2012 is when it was done.
Yeah,
And anyway, so I'm gonna start
Okay, folks, so can
typing my list, so.
I want to get back to, how do we get to a final clean version of the ordinance itself? How are we gonna make that happen? What's reasonable given everybody's lives, which are a fact of our lives, right?
So anything we're gonna cut out of the ordinance that
Yeah.
needs to be specifications is going to have to go into the specifications
Great,
before the ordinance is passed.
Okay.
Otherwise, you have
yep, that's fine. So,
no,
create a document as you're working and put everything in there, and then we'll also be working, when Tom gets back, on creating the specs doc you're talking about.
right. And he can take the ordinance, he can, we can send him the edited one, and I think you can, I forget, it's been a while since I looked at it. I think I just highlighted stuff and put notes, this needs to be in specifications, I don't
Yeah.
remember what I did.
I think there's some you did and
That's-
some you didn't.
Yeah.
I mean, pulling out things that Carrie would be able to understand what's a specification and what is not. So pulling it out and compiling it in a way that has
Right.
a table of contents and
Yeah.
Yeah.
room to add sections and room,
Yeah.
like, if we're going to be adding things, we need to set up this document in a way that there are actual page breaks, so you can add sections in without blowing up the whole document.
Just
again.
like our budget.
Just like,
You leave
yeah.
room for line
Yeah,
items.
yeah.
right?
So this is something that she would be good at if you continue to just highlight spec, and then like garbage,
Like her
get rid of
take.
this stupid policy, because it's not a specification, that thawing is a policy. Steam thawing, you know, like, and it sounds,
Well,
unless
you,
they-
yeah, I mean, you could do it both ways. I mean, the specification is it's gotta be steam, you can't do electric, you know, stuff like that. So, you know, like the local guy, Larry Letourneau. you
But
know,
what I'm saying is
that
like,
stuff, he
if
would
we can
know.
get you guys to focus on content, Carrie can
That's
format the
my
whole
point,
thing,
right.
and then you get your eyes on it, Tom get his eyes on it, and it's legible and it's not just full of red ink. You know, because that's what it sounds like this document looks like right now, it's just,
Some of it is,
Took
if you look,
hatchet
if
to
it's
it.
edited, it's just a solid, almost a
Yeah,
solid red line
like my
going
master's
down.
thesis,
Yeah,
but, yeah, I think Carrie's a good
Yeah.
tool for that task.
when we get there, I
Yeah.
think, you know, we've got some stuff, you know, what John's read is some of the things I picked up. I think Paul just glossed over it because
did.
it was so pointless.
Hmm.
But the inconsistencies that were there.
Yeah.
And I think
But if you
we,
see those, call them out, like if you see contradictions, you know,
Oh, yeah.
definitely call them out.
Yeah.
that's
And
what
highlight
I
it in
did.
yellow and say, this is a spec, it goes
Oh,
in
yeah.
the other document.
Yeah. Well, the specs are different than inconsistencies.
So do you all feel as though, in terms of content, that it's covered, or do you need more help? I don't really know if I'm gonna be any good at
I-
thinking about all the ordinance language that needs to be
I
in
don't
there.
need help, I need time.
Yeah.
And I think we all can say that. I think John has picked up some of the things that I found and Paul has found. That's why I said we'd probably get 3 different answers on
Yeah,
this.
yeah.
My thought would be, let the 3 of us do it. Paul
Okay.
has the specs, I can clear up and get rid of, you know, where I've added water in and 30 sections in there for consistency, because there is a sewer document that has the same name. So let's specify this as water.
Yep.
And, you know, John is with his corrections and Paul with his specs. I mean, we could spot the specs, he's marked a whole lot. And get you a document that has, decide what to do with this mess.
Works for me.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So I think, you know, I'd say Paul's done the yeoman's work right now.
The,
It would be John's time on,
I have a question with this, Carrie, is that her name?
Carrie.
Is it something she could come to a meeting as well too, to kind of meet us and kind of understand our
Maybe,
questions?
let's
I think,
think-
let's get to where we're gonna use her, and then we'll
Yeah.
figure out the
Let
best
her
way.
look at it, and then if she has to come
Yeah.
in, or she could walk us through what
yeah.
Right.
does with it.
She's more than happy to come to an evening meeting when appropriate. On the other hand, we got a lot of other demands on our time, so I don't wanna do it unless it's focused time. We are
Yeah.
lining stuff up for her like crazy right now.
And I think this is something to do, you know, down the road, maybe 3 weeks, you know.
I think that's great. If we could be working
Yeah.
on this stuff 3-4 weeks down the road, my goal would be, you know, the reason I'm pressing so hard on this is we are gonna have a really hard time talking about about meter mandates until we have an ordinance in place.
Yeah.
So I want that done. Whatever we have to do around it to make it happen as simply as possible, so that we can get it done by, late fall, early winter, and we don't have to argue about that anymore. It's a done deal.
And then we can keep chipping away at the specifications.
Exactly.
What I'm waffling on a little bit is the reserve capacity. Whether that should be ordinance or specifications.
Can you elaborate?
Well, go ahead. I mean, so I guess we need to know, because my background is surface water, right? So I know a little bit about wells, but I mean, reserve capacity is an ongoing, it's forever changing, right? And I believe with wells, your reserve capacity, this is what I wanted to point out to you, your reserve capacity is based on what your static level of your wells is and how much you can pump before it drops to what would be considered a residual level. And then from that, you have to take into account what your storage volumes are. So that all plays into that. But what I'm wondering is if the ordinance should say that our reserve capacity will never be less than X amount, and then let the specifications deal with the process of getting approval, or if we just leave the whole thing. I gotta bat that around in my head a little bit.
I would think that you would have the approval going through and getting your allocation in your ordinance. Because the allocation is gonna be one thing. What the capacity is
And you can't,
can be defined some other way and be, as you point out, something that floats, which is what they're supposed to look at. But I think, the ordinance should, wrap around all the things that are gonna be billed.
and you can't have an allocation for anything new unless there is capacity.
Yeah.
Right.
And then there's also a time limit on how long an allocation is good for if you don't follow through and build.
That definitely needs to be in there.
And then there's another policy question that comes into play, which is that this ordinance places time limits on how long an allocation is good for.
Yeah.
If you don't use it within X amount of time, you lose it.
Yeah. Absolutely.
What some places do is they'll attach a time frame, and then if you want to extend the capacity, you pay a fee to continue to reserve it.
So every time your permits, and there are 3 permits that have to be used in a certain length of time. Each one has its own time frame. And if you expire that time frame, you reapply. When you reapply, you have to pay that fee again. So it's one of these things, and I think I didn't wrap my head around the full thing, but there's one point where it appears to say this can be extended by extenuating circumstances for 2 more years and you don't have to pay. And it was like, so that's one of the sections we're going to have to hound about.
It needs to be a reasonable amount of time, given all the other permits that people have to get to build anything in this state.
Right.
Yeah.
But it can't be indefinite, because if it's indefinite, you can have people tie up all kinds of capacity.
Which did happen in the city.
Can I make a radical, I'm just gonna put a radical idea out there, y'all can tell me why it's crazy. I just Googled City of St. Albans water ordinance. Immediately a 24-page PDF jumps up. I've got it right there. Why can't we take the 4 cities that we like the most, or even just 4 cities in general that we think are about our size, feed those 4 documents into AI and say, produce an amalgamation of these and highlight the the key decisions you made, which AI can do very quickly and easily for us. And then instead of trying to start with this document and fix it, start with a document, and then you can still go through and make your changes in it. But it's, I mean, the City of
Give it
St. Albans is
foundation
very
work.
simply written. I just read the first page. I understood every word of it.
Yeah.
Right? Why do we have to start with our document, or can we just say, forget it, let's just start with a clean document and make the changes we want?
I don't think we have to start with our document because our document is
Garbage.
being completely,
Right. So
We're
let's stop
rewriting the
trying
whole
to
thing.
mess with it. I mean,
That's what I was trying to allude to earlier. What,
Yeah.
it's a successful model.
if
you
you
guys
know how
want-
to do AI, go for it. Send it to us
let
and
me-
we'll start tweaking.
This I can put in front of Carrie. It'd be fun for her. She'd have a fun time trying to figure this out. I don't think it'll be hard.
The most
I just
you
don't
can
want
do
to
is
keep
review
doing
and
work that we
answer.
don't have to do, y'all. There's no point in killing ourselves here.
Yeah.
And
No,
if that
if
can
that can be
alleviate
done,
3
I'd
weeks of
be willing to look at it.
brainstorming, that can alleviate 3 weeks of brainstorming, we can brainstorm on something else.
And then you take a 25, 30-page document that's clean, it's well-written. You go through and you say, no, don't like that. That doesn't work in Newport or whatever,
And
right?
that's,
Or you add in what you do.
Or
like
you add in what you, exactly.
Or all the other things that you'd have to go through and did it all to make sure that it jives with the state enabling acts.
thank you for validating.
Yeah.
What would be interesting is to throw the City of Newport's one in there, too. Why
I think
not?
I'd do it on a separate exercise.
Right, do 2%.
Because we
yeah.
know that we don't like it.
That's right. I see where that, yeah.
I'm getting so used to it, I don't know, you know.
Now
Okay.
you're afraid to start on something else.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, I really don't know how this one was developed, but
I don't either.
clearly nobody proofread it before it was
No.
adopted.
Oh,
There's gonna be
they
so many
did, like,
things you gotta
don't
take
like the
out of
manging
it, we
in
might as well
there?
just start fresh.
Which I'm,
Yeah. There's just so much
I'm
as
fine
John
with that.
identified, it's gotta come out. I mean, would be more time identifying those than we are just to start with something that's baseline, foundationally perfect.
because every time I read that thing, I had to see the chiropractor the
We
next
plug
day.
and play our
I'm sure.
information.
It's insanity. I have the same feeling, actually. I mean, I read 6 different city charters from the state of Vermont while I was on my vacation. The hardest one, by far and away, was the city of Newport. Everybody else's was pretty plain speak. It was straightforward. It was easy to read. You know, we've got these really antiquated documents that are very difficult to sort through.
And I think it's because past amendments were written with an effort to try to maintain the style of the charter
Uh-huh.
and so on.
We haven't done a real change of the charter for years. There are 2, versions of the new charter, if you'd like to look at them. Charter Review Committee's work.
I'm so curious of what that is.
Happy to take a look at it if you want to send it. I'll add it into the thinking.
Seems like I had something else I wanted to tell you, Patrick, but it's gone, so.
So y'all, can we move on to the last set of questions? Because I
Sure.
think we're almost done here.
Yeah, let's do that.
I think you
What would
mentioned something
remind me,
about
what was the
reserve
last set of
allocation.
questions?
Where do we stand in terms of getting the information needed to
For the budget?
do a rate analysis for
Oh.
the budget for any, the immediate concern being, how did we actually come out in the last fiscal year, and what do we need to tweak, if anything, to
Yeah.
make sure that we have adequate rates going forward beginning November 1?
I think I have pretty much good news to report on all of that. I expect, been assured that we will have a draft of the audit by roughly probably the end of the 3rd week, beginning of the 4th week, somewhere in there of September. So it won't be a final version, but it'll be plenty for us to work with. It'll have more than enough info for you guys. So we'll have that within the next 3 to 4 weeks. We'll have the data from the billing that we just did and how much actually came in, which I think will be really useful to us. And we can compare that to what we did the billing the previous quarter. And nowadays, that means everything's in numeric. Chip can sort it for us quickly. And almost as soon as the billing period is over, or the payment period is over on the 15th, I think, right, of September, we should be able to get financial reports from Chip that show us what's happened this time and what happened the last time. There may be, I think that'll be pretty easy for him to create actually right now. So we'll have those 2 things. And I have some confidence, I have growing confidence in the budget with some significant exceptions. But the budget, we're trying to go through the budget carefully as department heads and look at what do we think we're really going to need and what won't we need. This won't help you for this task right now, but just so you know, I also expect that roughly by the beginning of October, we're going to have a new chart of accounts for the council's consideration that the finance team and Chip will bring to us, having consulted at length with the department heads about it. And it will be a far simpler thing to read, and it will appropriately allocate salaries to the department where they need to be allocated.
Nice.
So that we'll not have this, go find that person's salary by adding these 4 lines on these 6 pages together, right? That we'll have that solved. I don't think that'll help us particularly with this next step. Maybe it will, maybe it won't. But the rest of what we have, I think, will give you what you need to make decisions.
Okay.
So by the end of the month, we should have everything you all need to spend a couple of weeks doing what you did the last time, hopefully with a little less pressure and a little more information. Okay?
And will we have final numbers in terms of actual payments as far as the bond and borrowing are concerned?
Somewhere, yeah, by October 6th, we've got to have the water tower short-term loan figured out,
The final.
because that payment is due on the 7th for the line of credit for the water tower. So that one should be done. And I suspect by then we will be close to having what we need. In fact, oh, goodness, I can't believe I didn't think of this earlier. I'm so sorry. The next meeting we have, we really need to dedicate some significant time to our best guess at cash flow for the sewer fund in particular, right? Because in order to get the $1 million note from Pasumsic, they are asking for a cash flow projection for the sewer budget for the next, well, we said 5 years, but actually what they're saying at this point is, 10 years. It's easy to do the 10-year. All they really want to know is, are you expecting in year number 7 to have to redo something major at the sewer plant? I mean, that's right. They're trying to look at the big major things that could hit. So I'm less worried now than I used to be about what the detail in that cash flow. But I'm going to have to I need some help from you all. I can't believe I didn't put that on the table early. I'm so sorry.
So that's actually the last agenda item, which had a question mark after it. What if anything, does this need to do regarding those cash flow projections?
I think if we could meet in the next couple of weeks and work on, did we do a cash flow for sewer or only for general fund? We only did it for general fund in the spring, right?
Yes.
I can show you what we did for the general fund. It boggles my mind that it counts as anything, honestly, because there's no detail underneath it. It's just, in beginning balance, ending balance, beginning balance, ending balance for a number of years of the whole thing. So I think if we could have an evening where we spent time with the current sewer budget, I'm thinking out loud, please push. It will slice and dice things differently than we have in the past, but it will immediately be transferable to this current year. In other words, he won't go back to last year, but for this year, he will translate the current budget with all of its chart of accounts into the new chart of accounts. These 6 lines go into that, these 4 lines go over here. So we'll be able to use it immediately for this year. So the question I have for you all is it easier to work with the current chart of accounts to try and create that cash flow because we have previous years we can look at it and we're comparing apples to apples, right? Or is it, as I'm talking out loud, I think that's where I'm landing.
Yeah.
That it doesn't actually help us to start with a new chart of accounts for this project,
No.
right?
But we do need from Jason and Tom their predictions for the
Yep,
next 5 years.
yep. Jason
We
should
need-
be able to give us that.
Yeah, and we need to know, we should look at historical chemical cost, and try to project what those increases have been and try to increase the same amount for the next 5 years to increase that budget. instead of just throwing an arbitrary percentage at it.
And as I'm thinking about this, we're gonna need it for water too, because I have to do that, I have to provide the same thing for the cash anticipation, the bond anticipation note that we're gonna need by the end of October. So we actually have to do it for all three funds, general fund, water, and sewer.
And we might need the country of origin on our supplies.
In terms of the rate increase, you can't just rely on the budget for, what is it, 2025 into 2026 as it exists, because we just also approved those five, the citizens approved those five things. One of them was the $1 million loan from the sewer, and that was never included in the budget that we originally approved.
Right.
I mean, not we, that the council approved. So there are some items that
That's a good point.
were not in the budget to begin with that needed to be.
Right, that will have to be part of the calculation in October.
That's
Yes.
why I was asking your question as to
That's
whether
right.
you had any sense of what the payments would be.
Sorry, not yet, but I will.
So,
Yeah.
I think we throw out 25, 26 and just recalculate it. And just recognize where we are with the shortfall we're going to be. Because the figures probably are not valid from what we know, I would say. Was that really reviewed in consideration with what,
So what the base would be?
yeah. I mean, if
I
you're
don't know if I'm ready to go
doing,
there, Jennifer. Let's be careful not to throw out the baby with the bathwater here. I mean, while I have a lot of problems with the way that revenue was just a line that switched from expense to revenue and then nothing was done to change the rates, I don't have anything that at the moment is leading me to believe that there are massive errors on the expense side. Okay. Now, the other place where there may be some errors are the ones that you keep pointing out, like, oh, we didn't know this when we calculated that for revenue, right?
Yeah.
So the rate side, you may be right, but I don't think that's a problem.
The rate
We have a
side
pretty
is-
good idea, I think, of what it costs to operate this plant.
Are there any projections though? You talked about they want to go 10 years out. Are there any projections from Jason that we're going to need any big equipment?
Well, that's exactly the question. That's what we gotta ask him.
Yeah, capital. So in terms of next meetings, 2 weeks from today is the 18th. I can't do the 18th that week, but I can do the 16th or 17th. The following week, I can do Tuesday, Wednesday, or Thursday, 23rd, 24th, 25th, just to throw dates out. My fourth Thursday thing is switched to third Thursday this month.
consistency's good.
I could do the 24th or 25th. I will be gone the previous week, but that's okay. You guys can meet without me.
There's not much point in that if it's to discuss what you
A bunch of these
just
things.
elaborated.
I tend
You
to
have be
agree.
there.
Because we were talking about perhaps
I'd
3
say let's
weeks
go
out,
3 weeks.
but you wanted to rediscuss something about 2 weeks out, isn't it?
Yeah, so either the 24th or 25th.
I can do either.
I'm not available the 25th. I am available on the 24th.
What day is it?
24th is
Wednesday.
Wednesday, 25th is Thursday.
You know me, I'm an open.
Yeah.
John, you can do the 24th, you said, right?
Yes.
Jennifer?
Yep.
Paul?
Sorry, was it,
That's
which one are we
Wednesday
narrowed
the
down?
24th.
Wednesday the 24th.
Yeah, I can.
I can tentatively lock in and out, but I'm going to be a little bit more active region on some of those dates.
I might have to zoom in.
I might
but
not on
can
a
make it.
Wednesday.
We can do a Zoom.
Yeah.
Okay. We will warn that on the events page of the website.
But you have an email that to us.
Okay, and the main agenda item is going to be working on those financial projections.
Yes.
And that's it.
And
I'll have some figures breaking down what we've got for billings.
Do we want Jason and Corey come to the first half and then do the financial projections? Well, no, they should be here.
They
for
should
that.
be here.
That's right. So we'll just invite them. Okay.
And
And just a brief meter update from Corey would also be.
Tom
Probably
is not
inclusive.
back. No, Tom is back then.
I don't know exactly when. I know he left this morning and he said he was gonna be gone
Oh.
3 weeks.
He left this morning, gone for 3 weeks,
Yeah,
so
so
then
he may or may not
probably
be
won't
back then.
Okay.
But we can meet.
Is he available for a Zoom or?